Is it called? Right,
Yes.
hello everybody. I'm here today with Georgia Polden, and we're going to talk about, well, all kinds of things over our next little series of shows. But Georgia has a YouTube channel called Cosmicheartspace. And Georgia, I wonder if you could start by telling us what that is first.
Yeah, so the YouTube video itself is really just there for me to put some information out that I have on light language, and I use light language for healing myself and using it as a meditative state, take us into a meditative state for the others as well who are watching it. And this is kind of something that really helps us to just relax, and it talks to our soul and helps to heal our soul on a level that maybe our more analytical mind might not be able to understand.
So do you think when you say it's your soul, that's like our essence, the deep part of ourselves, the part that exists, because we were talking before about quantum, but we'll go into that at some point, our soul, that's the connection with everything.
Yeah.
And when you say it would help with your soul, do you think it also helps with working on your body and your mind in this life?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it helps bring your soul or your higher self more forward.
Because we normally just work through ourselves, don't we? Through our personalities.
Yeah. So it's really something that isn't just for, and it's not something that necessarily everyone's gonna. I'm just I want to put it out there. Not everyone's gonna necessarily just completely understand it or wake up for it or will resonate with it, but for those that do, it's because it's it's potentially their time to have that gift come through for them as well, because it is a gift. It's something that it's when this is where I say like the cosmic heart, because it's when our heart opens up and it has that cosmic connection and understanding with all things. And it gives us that communication with our higher aspects, and this is where we then start to, and it's not even just speaking, it can come in writing form, sometimes it's movement. You can see I'm moving my hands already, but so I've gone quite naturally, like move my hands, but light language, it comes through in a light language way. So like when I'm moving my hands like this, I'm bringing a lot of energy through, and this is where the codes are coming from.
So it's like another way of expressing the message that you're bringing forward.
Yeah. It's bringing codes for many different things, for awakening, giving us information, giving us healing. It's giving us that information. Yeah, on a much deeper level. Yeah, but it's giving it to us on a much deeper level than just, if we was to do some kind of more like movement work. I suppose it's still kind of similar. It runs along that line. It's like we talk about prana or chi. But it's codes that are there to work within and communicate with the soul. So it bypasses our analytical mind. That mind that's kind of just might be thinking, what is this? What do I do? Or when am I going to be healing? What's going to be happening? It's going past that to work on a much deeper level. We've talked about how our DNA, it doesn't actually hold a whole lot of information. There's empty space initially of what's going on in there.
Do you think it's empty or it's waiting to be unlocked?
Exactly. So this is where then the light language comes along, and we integrate more of that information because it's more of the light. And that's why we talk about our light body, and our light body expanding.
Because we were talking before about light workers, and I think many people might not quite understand what the term light workers are. Can you perhaps tell us about that a bit?
Yeah. I mean, again, this could be something quite different for a lot of people, how they perceive it. Because even what I'm talking about now, it's all a matter of our own perception, isn't it? And how we perceive things. But to me, my own personal experience is that I have the understanding of some lives that I have lived that are not from this dimension. They are from higher dimensions that attain lots of gifts, or they have, some of them have gone through, you know, the ascension process themselves, and I'm integrating that now in this now moment to actually help others and to teach us how we're gonna do this now. And we're going to help people. I especially help children. I work a lot with children, so I bring that forward for them. You know, I'm bringing that energy into their lives, which helps them to remember, helps them to wake up. You know, and also some of them, they are just really, especially children, you know, they're very high vibrational already, and they need grounding. You know, they need these tools that are kind of old paradigm. It doesn't really hold that for them. You know, it's only now that we're starting to bring in, you know, things like mindfulness into schools, which is what children need to ground and to stabilize into this earth. You know, when you've become such a high frequency, you think you don't really have such a dense body that we have. It can be really hard to become into a physical body and to actually navigate.
Oh, sorry, go on.
I was just going to say, just navigating a physical body, you know, and all the different trauma that comes up in this life, you know, and fear as well, and all those sort of lower emotions that aren't experienced when you live beyond the sort of 6th, 7th sort of densities, you know, frequencies, you know, all of that. You're so much lighter, and you feel that resonance of the heart, and you have a lot of the understanding of being a part of that oneness, and that gets lost when we're here.
Because I think it's great that you're working with little children, because children obviously, they get affected by our peers and or their peers and their parents, their schools, the way they're brought up in life. But if they can be sort of taught this in a nice way, which I know you do, you know, when they're little, you know, obviously you can't go too deep into what quantum is or anything, but helping them to learn to meditate, well, maybe not necessarily meditate, but to think before they act, perhaps to slow down with their lives, you know, will help them develop into more balanced humans as they grow up into older people.
And it won't, and a lot of that frequency that they carry into this life won't get lost. You know, that information that they carry won't become lost or, you know, blocked out, because, you know, as you probably are aware as well, when you're young, you would have understood that you had this, you know, knowing that you were a part of the stars, and you have, some people have experiences, you know, with beings, maybe even just like spirits and stuff, and then that gets lost, doesn't it, as we get older, and that's simply because it's shut out. We're not taught about our energy system and our body on a more energetic level, you know, where we're really taught about what the physical functions are. We're taught how to sit still and learn, but we're not really taught what happens if you're feeling very unbalanced and your energy's out because someone spoke to you in a way that you couldn't handle, you couldn't process that, and you now have a bit of anger there. And then you have to sit and try and learn when you've got some stress hormones being produced, you know, and that on an energetic level does affect us, and then it becomes a physical thing.
Yeah, that's very true, because most children, myself included, as I grew up, you mimic what you see other people do, like you mimic your parents or you mimic other adults that are around you, and sometimes them adults are still acting like children themselves, and they're not doing the right thing when having to face something like that. So hopefully putting children or teaching children about these things at such a young age will help them develop into, like I was saying, more harmonized people. I
mean, the adults in their lives need to equally learn all of this, if not more, because I think the more people, if they can attain these sort of this attitude and this kind of way of teaching children, then they can actually you know, raise children up without you know, gaining, I don't know how to put it in a nice sort of way, that sometimes, you know, how adults can be towards children, it can have a long-term effect on them. You know, if we're constantly getting shouted at then, you know, we might not feel that we could achieve what we wanted to achieve in life. And, you know, there's so many different things that can happen by doing that.
But that's one of the things also with your work and with, well, not necessarily just spiritual development, but people in today, the adults that haven't quite grown up into being what they're supposed to be, haven't fulfilled their destinies because they're caught up in how they were brought up and real life. But with this time of lockdown and things, people could perhaps be working on themselves, and it doesn't necessarily mean it has to be a find God and religion type of thing.
Yeah, exactly. And that's why I feel like it was my time to step up and start doing the YouTube videos, you know, because you get the guidance, you know, if you are in tune, you do get the guidance. And for a while I've kind of been told, you know, come on, write some blogs, you know, do some YouTube videos and things like that. And I just thought, I don't really feel that I'm that kind of person that can be on front of a screen and put myself out there in that way. And so I've had to have a lot of my own self-work to kind of to get past that barrier. And also, you know, light language, I mean, even for me and most people that have this experience where it comes through, is that you kind of think, well, how am I meant to do that in the world where no one understands? You know, are they going to just come back at me with fear with it? But what you soon then begin to realize is that it's so uplifting and it's so full of love. It's just pure love and compassion that I'm sharing, that you just can't experience anything other than that, you know. Because even when I'm doing it for others, when I have like people have like one-to-one healings, you know, I feel the same level. I feel just as healed as well, because when we lift our own selves up to that frequency and that vibration, that's when we really start to feel connected, you know, to ourselves. And that doesn't mean that we're not grounded in and that we're kind of too busy wanting to go off up into the realms and not stay here on earth, you know, because we do need that balance, as well as wanting to access a higher aspect, you know.
Yep, you're back.
Yeah.
Sorry, you just froze for just one moment, just before you spoke about the higher aspects.
I'm just saying, as much as we want to also, I think the thing is to learn as well, is if you are looking to kind of really move up and, you know, access those higher aspects, then anchoring in and understanding that you are a part of this earth as well. You know, we're in this experience and we have to embrace that.
You were saying, I've watched many of your videos, and when I first met you, I was saying to you, oh, is it channeling? And you was explaining to me that it's not the same as channeling what you're doing. You were saying to me about, and as you've been saying in this video, of accessing your higher aspect in yourself. To some people, they might not understand what accessing their higher aspect is.
Okay, so yeah, if we're accessing our higher aspect as opposed to channeling something, channeling is, to me, I mean, you are still channeling your aspects, aren't you? You're still bringing in other energy, but you're not bringing something that's outside of yourself. You know, we're really traveling up to source and communicating with what's higher, and that doesn't, and again, when I say higher as well, I mean, although they are, yes, a higher vibrational frequency, there's no judgment as well between, oh, well, I'm down here, so I'm not up there and I need to get up there. Because like I was saying about understanding that we are this as well, and I've said before, you know, we're also have lower aspects, you know, and obviously we don't want to integrate them so much, but and start you know, using their gifts or whatever, but we do need to have an understanding that, you know, we are many beings, or we're many different frequencies, you know, and this is one soul experience that we're playing out right now. But our soul is also, you know, this is one aspect of the soul. So when I say aspect, I'm talking about a part of the soul. So then we have many different parts of our soul that are living in or residing in different dimensions, you know, realms, however you want to say it, whatever feels right for you. But, you know, we're not just living like this. And like we talked about, you know, we don't just live in a linear fashion, you know, how we perceive it. Obviously, you know, we've got experiences and lives that are all playing out in all different, even parts of, like, not of this world, you know, within different times. You know, it doesn't, we might look at things and we can see the past as we are now, but potentially somehow, I don't know if I'm going a bit off subject, but
no, this is great. I like talking about time, so this is good.
yeah. And I'm trying to say it simply, I don't want to go like, yeah, but so basically, to say if, so like an experience that I had was that I had a lot of eczema coming through. I mean, even now, there's something still that I'm working on, and actually, it was so bad at one point, and I had an Akashic Records reading, and you know, we realised that I had a life as a witch that was burnt, you know, all that kind of stuff, and
so that would affect your skin.
yeah, and I kind of knew that was going to be the case, and it was funny. I was just confirmed, like, just left, right, and centre, just people that were very spiritual that I know. They all kept making these comments about that, but why did it just happen at that point? Do you know what I mean? It's almost like there is sometimes, I feel that there are these energy crossovers with our timelines. You know, like we said, that because nothing is just within a line. You know, it was like, why at that point? There was a point at that time where they meet, and I was to heal and also work on whatever wasn't worked on within that life. So the point I'm trying to say with that is that, you know, we have other dimensional lives going on all the time, and you know, we can't just look at it as like that they're just all the way up here and they've ascended, you know, now they're like 10th, 11th, 12th, you know, density beings, because again, nothing just works within that line. You know, we can access even that being within different timelines of their own existence as well.
All the timelines are happening now, aren't they? They're all happening, even though the which one that you just referred to would have been a few centuries ago, and other lives that you've had are all happening now. Even though that sounds crazy, there's no past or future really. It's just a now. Everything's happening now, which is why your soul in all them other, or shards of that soul, aspects of that soul in all them other lives can contact each other, because it's all happening now. Which sounds crazy, but I know that's what a lot of the spiritual teachers talk about, and the gurus and Buddhas, live in the now.
Live in the now. So it's like, you know, when you're present with who you are now and accepting of this now, then, you know, I think it does open up able to have that kind of contact, you know. And like I said, it's really about when we're able to move up and also we always associate it with going up and like being able to contact source. I mean, obviously, again, that's still a human. It's still a very human kind of way of looking at something. It's just an assistance for our human mind to kind of see ourselves, you know, contacting something that's, you know, more purer and, you know, I suppose more. Obviously, you want a God source. You know, you want to contact that. So we're associating as like we're going up. You know, but we also need to be here in our heart. You know, it's really important that, so if anyone is looking into that and wanting to evolve, and it's always about coming to the heart and compassion and love, you know, for yourself, for others. I think the more we can actually stay in our heart center, and that's when those things can't start opening up for us. Because again, you're probably familiar with this, but you know, I'm talking about our heart here, but you know, the communication comes from the higher heart chakra, you know, and that's what needs to be unlocked. To have that.
And we've got our 5 chakras, well, our 7 chakras, but there's also higher ones, or that's what I've been studying on, of we can align our lower chakras, then we can align them properly. We'll then be able to get in touch with our higher chakras, which is the even higher heart chakra that you're talking about. But both that higher one and that lower heart chakra, they are connected with that divine source, or whatever you want to call it, which is the love, the cosmic love. But maybe I think the higher one's always connected, and our lower one we can shut off, and we're the ones that have to open it again. Do you think that's true?
Yeah, it's kind of like a part of our, I suppose, our evolution within this time. You know, are we gonna sort of unravel and know that we are more than this human experience? Because we do have a lower chakra as well, like an earth-like chakra, which anchors us in. Because sometimes, like when you can go into like a meditation, and you can just really visualize yourself anchoring into the earth, and then you can draw up the light of Gaia. You know, you can draw up that light, and that's very healing in itself. And that helps to open and activate all the chakras. And this is when we can start to open up the chakra when we've anchored into the earth, and we've also pulled up into our higher star chakra to be able to communicate. And that's where we become an understanding, you know, that we are part of the stars. You know, we're part of that galactic system. You know, we can communicate with that as well as Earth, you know, because again, we know that Gaia is a living, breathing consciousness as well.
Well, in this time of shutdown, I'm sure lots of people would like to try and do this kind of thing, but you actually give guided meditations on your YouTube channel, don't you? But if people wanted to have a one-to-one with you or something, is there a website or something they should contact you on?
Yeah, I mean, they can contact me on there. I haven't got my website up yet. It's still quite new. I've got an old website because I used to be in mindful therapies. I used to do quite a lot of different holistic stuff, but that's all kind of moving on now, you know, because I've been much more in alignment with my, you know, soul's purpose, you know, and that's very much to, you know, help the children that are coming here on the earth that are, you know, of a higher vibration. And then we've got the collective here that we're all in a little bit of fear at the minute, and that there's a lot of different shifting and people are awakening and they need that spiritual guidance. So yeah, so far at the moment I've just got the YouTube up, but there will be a website, and I will start writing some blogs and things like that.
And we'll do some more shows as well. So
yeah, we'll talk more about this, definitely.
What I'll do is we'll close off with this one, and we're going to make some more over the isolation period. So thank you very much, Georgia. And so it's Cosmicheartspace is the YouTube channel.
Definitely. Should we, before we actually go, should we actually just sit in the space and just do a little bit of clearing? So,
I'd love to do that. So you're going to do the guiding, yeah?
Yeah. We'll just have your hands out and on your knees. Just make sure that you're sitting up nice and tall. Feel on that nice energy channel. We're just going to take a deep breath in, really filling up the lungs and the rib cage expanding. And just a nice long breath out. Feel your oxygen that you're breathing in. It's your prana, it's your life force. And we're drawing in the energy as we're breathing in. We're really drawing down that energy. Anchoring in the energy as we're breathing in. And you can continue with that for a little bit longer if you need to. But you're also able to just allow your breath just to come back to its natural state, and just feeling the rhythm and just noticing the energy that is moving and filling up your body. If you want to visualize now, is that right on the root chakra is then moving down into the earth like a beam of light, down into the earth is your earth light chakra. Just allow the energy to move down as far down into the core of the earth. And when you reach to the very core, imagine now that Gaia's energy is going to move up, moving up that cord is the light of Gaia. You're feeling the connectedness and the oneness that you share. Allow that energy to move up. When it reaches into the root chakra, I just want you to imagine that that light is moving around the root chakra and then moving through the solar plexus and right up into the heart. Just allow that to flow in your own time through those chakras. And when you're ready, allow them to start to move through your higher chakras, right up into the crown, until you feel the light from your crown opening up and moving up to the stars, as far as you can take it, all the way out. Take it to source. You can travel that light all the way up to source. You may start to see bright white light. Now feeling that divine energy, allow it to start to pour down and merge with your light. Moving all the way down into the skull, through your chest. Allow it to mingle now. It's moving around the body, through all your chakras, down to your lower chakras, through your legs. And just feel it merging with Gaia's energy. Now when you're ready, you can start to just breathe in a little bit heavier and breathing out. Breathing in. Feel your feet on the floor. Feel your fingers. You can open your eyes, looking down at the ground. Start to bring yourself back.
Great.
Quick way of like integrating with the earth energy and the light energy, you know.
Yeah, I could really feel it and see it as well in my mind's eye. Well, it's my mind's eye, but yeah, that was really good.
Obviously, that was a bit quicker. You know, I didn't really go through all the chakras, but just a little quick one there.
Yes, and I hope people came along with us and did it with us as well, because it will be just as powerful with just because we're not live. It still will work, won't it?
Yeah, definitely. And people can do this whenever, you know, just really it's all about using that imagination in your mind's eye, just taking your energy down and really anchoring into the earth, because a lot of the time we're not grounded in enough. And how are we supposed to, you know, really communicate purely if we're not really anchored in, you know, because I think if we're not quite anchored in, we can end up picking up all sorts of things. You know, this way we've got interference, and that's why we always visualize, you know, we're going right up to source. And if you want to communicate, you know, you're always questioning and asking, right, that this is for my highest good, it's for the highest good of all, and it's for the highest good that we have the most light and purest intentions of gratitude. And that is what's communicating with us. You know, we're not bringing, that's why, you know, that's why we're not, they can potentially bring something in that's within the side. I don't want to completely shut that off and say that to people, because but you want to know that the source has said, okay, you know, okay, this is good, this is pure, this is still light, this is love.
It has to be your intentions, isn't it, as well? Because you know, there are dark sides out there, so that's why you've got to be thinking this in a positive, protective, but loving way.
Yeah. If you're coming from a place where you feel a bit fearful or, you know, anxious about it, then it's not really your time to do it. I really recommend just really becoming really very clear of your own energy. You know, know that your intentions are always clear. Make sure that your own system is clear. You know, that's why we have to go into the shadow, as it were, and that's why we have to make sure that we clear ourselves. So, you know, doing an exercise like that will help to clear out what isn't serving us that already is, you know, there. We have to clear those blockages, because that's when you're going to get the purest of communication.
And I'm glad you said that, because many people want to avoid the shadow and think that if they just ignore it and just think in love all the time, that it'll be all right. But you do have to face your shadow, because as you're saying, you've got to clear it away, find out why we have them little shadow aspects of us. So thank you for saying that, because many people would not say something like that. That's really good.
Yeah, you have to do that, don't we? You have to sometimes get into the darkness, look at ourselves in the light that we don't necessarily like, because, you know, there's nothing wrong with that. And, you know, I think if there's anybody out there that's kind of just like, I'm just this light being and I'm doing this and that, it's like, you know, you're not being true to yourself or to others. You know, you've got to be authentic. You know, you can't be expecting to communicate truly and purely if you're not even acknowledging like the dark aspects of yourself, you know.
Which is why a lot of this was before, why they called it a cult, because it was originally hidden and only for those that they wanted to give to initiates. But I really do strongly believe the new age in the last century is having to come forth and bring it out to the mainstream, because we need to get the light workers out there working. But obviously not all of them can find someone to learn from or to be trained by, or to understand what they're doing, what they're going through, like having to face your dark aspects.
Yeah, but in a way, I mean, I feel that within this new age, I think that there's it's a new way of like, we don't need to seek other people that are out, like again, with not contacting spirits that are outside of yourself. It's the fact that it is all within us. So we need to stop looking as well for someone that's so much higher, highly involved in us, and they're going to help us and save us, get out of it, because actually it's us. And that's what it comes back to with, when we do the healing and light language, it's not me doing healing. It's, as much as I love Reiki, that's where I started off, but we're not just putting lots of lovely energy in you so then you can go off and be bouncy around. Unfortunately, we're drawing it out, where we're bringing things to the surface, we're really bringing that to the forefront. So once we can work on that and acknowledge it and not try and hide away, it's not that we're getting rid of it either. We're not like banishing our dark side. It's the fact that we're going, oh, you exist. Okay, I'm happy with that. We can get along now. Now I know when you're there. I can understand you when you appear. And I know how to make you feel better and calmer when you start getting angry and appearing again, It's having that kind of conscious behavior as well, of when we start to act out and be some parts of ourselves that we don't necessarily like or affects other people. When we actually work on that, we can not be fearful of it and try and push it down and pretend that we're something that we're not. We can just acknowledge, oh, I'm a bit like this sometimes, and that's okay, and I know how to work on that when it arises.
Which is one of the key things that we need to do and to develop, is to realise or recognise when something's not quite right, or there's something a bit dark or negative. We need to, like you say, work with it and deal with it. Because as you were saying, we don't need messiahs or gurus these days. We had the age of Pisces, it was just finished or is finishing, which was the age of teachers coming to show us the way. And now we're going to the age of Aquarius, which is about the individual. So we can learn from them teachers of the past, but then we have to go forth and do it ourselves.
Exactly. We need to now be seeing that the power is within and not giving our power away to others, or we're sharing it as well. We're sharing it. That's where we're becoming that union, aren't we? That we're not kind of taking it all for ourselves either. We're actually all expanding together. Because that's where, when we come back to talking about the cosmic heart, it is infinite, it is expanded, continuously expanding. So to say, with love, it's not just that you could just go, right, I'm going to love this thing and this thing, but I don't really like that thing. It's that we can actually have that love for all things, and that's going to be really hard for people to overcome and to get to that point. But it's okay, we'll all get there in the end. It's just a matter of when and what we need to overcome to get there, So hopefully with some of the things that we're both doing as well, both of us, we can bring more of that to people. We can bring this light to them so they can begin to see their dark sides and work on them. And also, just seeing that they are light as well, and that, we all have that.
And we're going to make more podcasts. So this was like our little introduction to us two chatting, and we're going to do more of these. So thank you, Georgia, and we'll do some more, well, very soon.
Yeah, lovely. Bye.